Driving from Johannesburg to Cape Town, this was not going to be an easy trip, but we made it very easy and very short. Yes, I said we because I was not alone, I was with 3 other gents, otherwise I do not think that I will do this trip alone. In this video, I'm going to cover how long it took us to get to Cape Town, the car we drove to Cape Town, the amount of money we spent on fuel and toll gates, as well as my stay in Cape Town. To avoid making this video long, I'm going to do this thing in 2 parts, so this will be part 1. It will cover the trip going to Cape Town as well as our stay in Cape Town. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Please make sure you subscribe to this channel. This is not a car review, but car related matters will be covered in this video. More especially the cars driven to Cape Town in this road trip. The question is, will I ever drive to Cape Town again? Well, I think I'll do it again. Now, here's a breakdown of this trip from Johannesburg to Cape Town. First, I drove from Johannesburg to Kimberley at around 11:06, so that was the time when I was leaving Johannesburg, and I arrived in Kimberley at 4:10, so that was 15:50. So this means that it took me 4 hours and 43 minutes to get to Kimberley. At first, when I checked Google Maps, it gave me an estimation of 5 hours and 39 minutes using the N12. So that was the time that I was going to spend on the road according to Google Maps. But I did it in 4 hours and 43 minutes. The distance from where I was in Johannesburg to where I was going in Kimberley was 469 kilometers according to Google Maps. At the time when I was ready to leave, I made it a point that I reset everything to 0. So the odometer was reading 0 and the average fuel consumption was reading 0. Then I started driving. And at the point when I started driving, I then noticed that I underestimated this trip. It was going to be a very, very long trip. And I then realized how far Kimberley is from Johannesburg. And I said to myself, at least by 4 o'clock, I must be in Kimberley. When I got to Kimberley, the odometer was reading 471.4 kilometers, and it does not actually deviate much from the 469 kilometers that was estimated by Google Maps. The fuel consumption at the time I arrived in Kimberley, it was 6.3 liters per 100 kilometers, and I'll explain why it went so high. So along the way, when I'd done about 234.6 kilometers, the fuel consumption was at around 5.9 liters per 100 kilometers. It could actually go lower because on the highway, most of the time, I'll be doing something like 5.4. But because I was trying to push to get to Kimberley as early as possible with an average speed of about 110 kilometers per hour. You are probably wondering what car was I driving. So this was a 2021 Honda Ballade Elegance powered by a 1.5 liter 4-cylinder natural aspirated engine. This 1.5 liter non-turbo engine produces 89 kilowatts of power and 145 Newton meters of torque. And the gearbox in this car is a CVT. My experience with this gearbox so far has been good. I wouldn't actually say it is too bad, also considering the fact that the car has got decent power. This is actually my car, and I've not done content with this car because it's only a few people that are looking forward to buying sedans or who would actually think of buying a Honda Ballade. You can actually indicate in the comment section if you would want me to do a review of this car. I'll definitely do it for you. Well, there's just a few things that I do not like about the car. The first being the CVT gearbox. 2, I don't know what it could be. Maybe there is no 2 because the car is practical, it has got decent power, it is fuel efficient, and it is comfortable. Before I left to Kimberley, I got my first full tank in Chamdo for 813 rands and 95 cents. So I drove to Kimberley the whole 471.4 kilometers and I did not refill along the way. So when I got to Kimberley, I could still drive for 89 kilometers more. So during this trip, I was using the N12 to Kimberley and the road is empty. So you're gonna leave Johannesburg, pass through Soweto to join the N12. Then you're going to pass Potch, pass Klerksdorp and some funny towns that I don't know by name till you get to Kimberley. Well, I don't know if some of those places will be considered towns because wow, they just look like a village. Along the way to Kimberley, I was thinking to myself, I'm actually going to the capital city of Northern Cape. When I got there, I was so surprised. It doesn't look like a capital city. It is very poor. But the entire province is like that. So I wouldn't be surprised. The place is more like Guyana. Yeah, like Guyana. I finally got to Kimberley and took a breath for about 30 minutes before we could continue with the journey. So from Kimberley, I was going to be joined by two of my friends and we were going to be exchanging the driving duties along the way. But because I've driven from Johannesburg to Kimberley, I cannot be driving from that time. From Kimberley to Cape Town, we decided to use my friend's car, which is a Polo DSG with about 85 kilowatts of power from a 1.0 liter turbocharged petrol engine. At this point, the average fuel consumption in the Polo was at 5.0 liters per 100 kilometers, and we got the first full tank in Kimberley for 886 rands and 49 cents. It is very important to always fill up your tank when driving on a long distance. You don't want to get stuck in the middle of nowhere and have no one to help you. Then now the journey started from Kimberley to Cape Town. Siyabangena. The journey continues, and one thing I can tell you is that Northern Cape is a very, very dry province, so there is really nothing much happening there. From Kimberley, our first stop was at Three Sisters, where we got snacks and drinks to push us along the journey. So from there we got to Linesburg, which is where we refilled the tank for 818 rands. So this was basically the second full tank from Kimberley. Then where we got to stop properly and relax was at Beaufort West, where we decided to get food. And my friend bought pap, but the pap was not papping. The plan was never to rest at Beaufort West, but to keep pushing till we get to Cape Town. So we only ate at Beaufort West and got some rest for about 20 minutes to 30 minutes and then continued with the journey. While we were at Beaufort West, I started noticing that Cape Town is far. So this is not a journey that you can just wake up and say, I'm driving to Cape Town. That place is far. We continued with the journey. Driving, it is at night, we can't even see what the environment looks like. We then got to the Eugene Toll Tunnel, which is the longest tunnel in South Africa. So this was interesting to drive in this tunnel. It looks very good inside. It looks very clean. You can tell that some comrades are not involved in the Western Cape. I'm kidding. So basically there was one toll gate we had to pay, which was exactly after the tunnel. So we paid something like 50 rands and 10 cents or so. So it wasn't actually a lot of money. We then continued till we got to Cape Town at around 3 a.m. and we were not rushing for anything because it was still in the AMs and there's nothing you can do in the AMs. From Kimberley to Cape Town, it took us 10 hours and 5 minutes. So in total from Johannesburg to Cape Town, it took us 15 hours and 47 minutes. So this is not bad. Other people do it in about 20 something hours. It was actually feasible for us because we were 3 drivers in the car and we exchanged their driving duties. The time we got to stop along the way from Johannesburg to Cape Town does not even amount to 1 hour 20 minutes. It's actually less than that. When we got to Cape Town, the odometer was reading a mileage of 38,001 kilometer and the average fuel consumption was at 5.2 liters per 100 kilometers. So this was actually so perfect. Now, back to the Honda Ballade. The reason why the fuel consumption went high was because I was driving at a speed of 130 kilometers per hour and I'd put the car on cruise control. So whether I was going on a steep or on a hill, I was actually moving at a speed of 130 kilometers per hour. So that is actually what influenced it to go as high as that. I must say that driving that Polo was very nice and the fact that it was a DSG made the journey more enjoyable. The fact that the car does not have turbo lag made it more fun to drive. To avoid making this video too long, I'm going to pause here and we'll continue in part 2. Stay tuned for part 2 and please do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and stay tuned for more content.